And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I've been going over the Gryphon Games series, reviewing each of the first 5 of these games that came out in 2009. There's more on their way. Well, let's look at these 5. The one we're looking at today is one that's been out for quite a while, actually, and that's For Sale. Interestingly enough, if we look at the last version of the English For Sale, they look kind of similar. Eerie, isn't it? And I'm really glad for that, because the old artwork For Sale is really great, and I'm glad they kept it for this version. For Sale has 2 distinct different rounds in it. In the first round, each player gets a certain amount of money in a 5 to 6 player game, which is the best way to play. You get 2 of these $2,000 chips, and you get 10 of the $1,000 chips. The game takes place in several quick rounds. In each round, you turn over a card for each player in the game. So let's say, for example, it's a 4-player game here, and these are the 4 cards turned over. These are 4 properties that are up for rent. Now, in the game, the worst property is the lowest number, so 1 is the worst property in the game. There's only 30 cards in the deck, and 30 is the best. So we look at these here, and 1 is horrible, 9 is, okay. 20 is a pretty nice place, and 26 is a castle. Looks pretty good here. Now, one player starts, and he bids. He can bid any amount he wants, and then the next player has to bid higher than him, and so on and so forth around the table. If you don't want to bid higher than the next person, let's say I bid 3, the next person bids 4, the next person bids 5, the next person bids 6, comes back to me, I'm at 3. I don't want to bid 7. I'm done bidding. When you're done bidding, you have to pay in half your bid. So I'd say, okay, I have 3, round up, I have to pay 2 coins, but I get to keep 1, and then you take the lowest card on the table, the 1. And then it's the next person's turn. They can either bid higher, or they can pay half their bid and take the lowest card on the table. And that continues until finally the last player gets the most valuable property on the board, but they have to pay their full amount. They don't get half of it back. So the game will continue, and eventually everybody will have a handful of property cards. Now it's time to start the second round. In the second round, we bring out a stack of checks. These stack of checks will be turned over, and different checks we put out, again, 1 for each player. These checks will range from 0 to 15,000. So here we see we have a 15,000, an 8, an 8, and a 7. Each player then will look at the properties that they've accumulated in their hand. They'll secretly pick one and put it face down. Once all the players have put them face down, we turn them face up, and whoever played the highest number will get the highest check in the middle. Whoever played the lowest gets the lowest check, etc., etc. Once that happens, all the properties that were played are discarded. The next round goes until everyone has a pile of checks in their hands. Once you have a pile of checks and all the checks are gone, you count and add up all the checks in your hand, plus any remaining money that you might have from the beginning of the game, and whoever has the highest score is the winner. As I said, the artwork is very nearly identical to the last version, the Uberplay version. The For Sale, for example, you see the 30 cards. They're very similar, although the backs are a little bit different. Not a big deal. The checks have been redesigned. Before, they looked like a check, and the number was a little smaller on them. Now it's just a much bigger number 8. Thematically, this changes nothing. The coins themselves, the 2000s, you can't really tell much of a difference. The font is different. The 1000s, the old ones were a little smaller. The new ones are bigger. But big deal. This is really essentially the same game. So I can say this emphatically. This is a fantastic game. I have played this probably 100 times. When people come over and I have 6 people, we're winding down. We say, we only got 10, 15 minutes. Or when we're starting up a game session, I'll whip this out. And it's a really interesting game that I can teach it to people very easily. Sometimes I'll teach just the first half of the game. People play it. They say, we have all these properties. Now what do we do? I say, okay, I'll teach you the second half. And there's some strategy in the game where you try and outbid. If you have a really horrible property in your hand, you have this 3. You play it when all the checks are high, because when all the checks are high, what does it matter? Throw out a low property, and you'll get one of these higher checks for a low property. And so it all works together in a really wonderful way, and it's really fast. It plays well with 3 and 4, but it's been a long time since I played it with 4, just because it's such a great game for 5 and 6, and it's really fast. And I like the artwork. It's almost like Easter egg in a sense, because every picture has an animal in it. You just have to look sometimes for the animal. And I thought the artwork was really well done. And the idea of buying houses and then trying to pawn them off for the best price possible, it's a good one, a good real estate theme. This is a game that I think should be in every person's collection, whether you're a gamer, whether you're someone who's just casually getting into the business. This is, I mean, I like all the games in this Gryphon series so far, but this is by far the best one. You need to own this game.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.